So before we start, let's just get some basic definition down really quickly. There are two main types of drawing tablets, the ones you can draw on directly and well, the ones you can't. Neither are strictly better than the other, but speaking from personal experience, here's a couple things that I think you should know. Drawing tablets are obviously cheaper, nicer in your posture and neck, require less setup overall, and provides way more value per dollar spent, but in exchange it requires a learning curve to properly use it. Whereas display tablet just skips all of that and lets you plug and paint the moment you get out of the box. But it's a lot more expensive, promotes a not so healthy posture for long-term use, and overall is more prone to hardwares and other technical problems. Which is better for you? Well, I think only you can answer that. I mean, some people genuinely can't deal with that hand-eye disconnect from using a normal drawing tablet, whereas other like myself don't mind that too much, and the ease and simplicity of it is just an appeal to us. We all have our own preferences, though having tools that feels right at home with does make it a lot easier to do a good job. If you're new to this whole thing, I would highly recommend that you pick up a simple drawing tablet first, mainly due to their comparatively low price, and it's never a good idea to splurge a lot of money on expensive equipment for a hobby that you might not even enjoy long term, right? So long as you're buying from the big three, you really can't go wrong with any of these options, though I would recommend getting models that are at least 10 inches or bigger. The absolute smallest I would be comfortable with is 7 inches, which was the size of my very first drawing tablet. Main reason why is because ideally you want to be drawing with your elbows and shoulders most of the time, and a small tablet makes that basically impossible. And putting that much strain on your wrists, especially if you're drawing a lot, can lead to some pretty complicated health issues, so it is absolutely not worth cheaping out for a small model, because I mean the big ones aren't that more expensive anyway to begin with. My personal recommendation is going to be this Dow Q620, because I actually own the thing and have been for like almost 2 years now. It works, it has a nice row of shortcut keys, the dial wheel is really handy for changing the brush size, and it doesn't need a cable, so my desk is all nice and clean unlike my previous tablet. If you're feeling extra fancy, you can grab the dial 2 as well, or this heavily discounted key dial. Honestly, with the discount, I think the key dial is just objectively the best value here. Like, if I'm looking for a tablet right now, I would probably scrap this. So, I mean, since I have personal experience with the dial Q, it has to be my most comfortable recommendation, but that key dial is looking very nice. If you're more of an XP pen person, then this Deco Pro is pretty much the same as the dial lineup from Huion. 8 short keys and a spinny wheel. My old classmate actually had this one, and according to him, it works without a hitch, so I'll take his word for it. It's also heavily discounted, just like the dial, which I assume is because they are pretty old at this point. You can opt for the more expensive Bluetooth version too if you aren't a fan of cables like me, but that's really just a nice luxury. In my opinion, there really isn't much reason to take the more expensive model, because like even the oldest model still has good enough technology to get the job done. Like my original drawing tablet, the Wacom Intuos functionality, right? It feels the exact same as my current DAO 2, despite the former being like, I don't know, like almost 8 years old at this point. I would just pick the model with a good price and a solid section of features, rather than worrying about like future-proofing it like you're buying a phone or something. Also, speaking of Wacom, I mean, yeah, they have been in the game for a really long time, but Wacom tablets are usually less functionality for more money, so... And like, they aren't even that meaningfully better than the ones from XP and Huion nowadays. So sure, if you really like the brand, or it's like the only option that you have, then you can buy from them. Now onto display tablets. Size again matters a lot, probably even more now in my opinion, because your entire workspace is dependent on it. 12 to 13 inches is the smallest it usually goes, and while they are totally serviceable and I personally didn't have any actual issue with my old Huion 13, it's still a really small size to work with. The whole drawing UI is crammed into this tiny space, and your hand is going to be blocking a lot of that most of the time anyway. Smaller screens are usually indicative of a lower quality display too, so the screen itself is going to be dull and dark, which is not the most ideal thing when you're working with colors. But I mean, if you really just want a display tablet like me back in 2020, then you really can't go wrong with grabbing these two older and discount models. The Huion 13 was like my second tablet for 3.5 years, and it just like the DAO 2, I can confidently say it works very well. The 13.3 Pro is essentially the same thing too. Both work as the cheapest entry model if all you want is a simple screen to draw on directly. Though, personally, my recommendation would be for you to spend a bit more extra on the bigger 15 inches model, because trust me, it will just feel so much better with all those extra screen estate. You can even go for the 22 inches too if you're feeling extra fancy, though. At only 1080p resolution, the display is gonna look a little bit scuffed, so I mean only get this if 16 inches is just not enough for you and you're like really desperate. But for me, these are enough. Good size and good price. I mean, what more can you ask for? The newer models upgrades to a 2K display too instead of 1080p, and well, personally, I don't think they're that big of an upgrade. There's no denying that it is a very nice display, and if you have the money and are really serious about this whole art thing, then you can totally go for it. But it's still very much a luxury feature. Super nice, but absolutely not required. This is actually the main reason why I don't like display tablets. The ones that comes with good screens are hella expensive, bro. Like, this is the same as a new phone. You know how many things I would rather get if I just have $500 lying around? And the value proposition isn't that good too. Like, okay, what, like $400 for a 2K 16-inch screen? You can get a 24-inch 2K monitor for half of that, and you know, just spend another $100 on a simple drawing tablet, and you get essentially the same experience and result for much cheaper. It's just not a good deal, but I totally understand the appeal. They are really nice, and honestly, my dream setup would be to just have one as a second monitor for references while I use it like a normal drawing tablet. But we don't live in dreamland now, do we? Lastly, are tablets, like actual tablets, you know, iPads, Galaxy Tabs, the sorts. Unlike the other two, they are basically just computers you can happen to do art on directly. Some like the Moving and Magic Drawing Pads are designed specifically for art, but are still a functional computer you can use for other stuff at the end of the day. So already you're getting a lot more value, because even if you aren't like doing art, you know, they can still be used for other things, like, you know, binging YouTube. I'll mainly be focusing on Apple and their iPads for this section, because I genuinely just don't have experience with Android tablets that much, and Procreate is kind of like the main reason why people want to draw on a tablet to begin with. Now, first off, to even draw on the iPad, you need an Apple Pencil, and there are currently 4 models, so let's go through them real quick. This one is useless for drawing because it doesn't have pressure sensitivity. The Gen 1 pen is 100% serviceable, but it charges kind of weird and isn't as nice to hold as the Gen 2 pen, which is just an upgrade to everything that the first pen is, even the price, so yay. And the Pro Pencil is just a better Gen 2 pencil, but it's only compatible with anything Apple has made post 2024, so unless you have a lot of money lying around, I would not recommend getting this. So let's just focus on these two, the bread and butter of the art community for a whole decade now. As much as I want to give a personal recommendation for this section, it's pretty much impossible because, assuming you're buying secondhand or refurbished, which you absolutely should because Apple stuff is insanely expensive at base price. Availability and depending on region, there's too many unknown factors that goes into this. Like, it's easy for me to just say, oh yeah, here, like, grab this M2 model. It's very nice, very good value for very good price. But the thing is that, you know, depending on where you live, this thing at this specific price might not even be available. So the main thing I would say to look for when you're shopping for an iPad for art is storage. Like, at the bare minimum, it needs to be 128 gigs. 64 is absolutely not gonna cut it in 2026 anymore. And despite what I said about the Gen 1 pencil versus the Gen 2 pencil, I have used both, and honestly, they are functionality the same, and the luxury feature of the second gen pencil is not really that important. So if you're really strapped for money and you just need a tablet that you can also use as a computer to draw on for art, just go for the first gen pencil, honestly. At the end of the day, if you want it and you can't afford it, then by all means go for it. This is not a what kind of drawing tablet you should buy vid. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money, okay? This is more of a what I would buy if I had your money. And as someone who watches a lot of tech review, I realize that 9 times out of 10, I never go into them hoping to learn which option is the better one. It's mainly just to validate my existing choice. The options I've listed here are based on my personal experience with the branded products, either directly or just from consuming a copious amount of videos online about them, and also what I'm looking for personally when I'm buying a new drawing tablet. This is not professional advice. Don't go sue me if you end up buying a dud, okay?